Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, so much to talk about. Any moment now, we expect to get the sentencing for Huw Edwards. We will, of course, come to that. The moment it happens, we'll bring it to you here first at Talk. But first up, let's talk about the big story happening yesterday evening. And that, of course, is what looked like a second assassination attempt on Donald Trump, extraordinarily. This happened at a golf course where he was due to be, he was playing golf. Now, we're told he was some 500 yards possibly away from a man who was found, basically his rifle, pointed at the golf course through a fence. There's a couple of bags, there's a GoPro. Obviously, this was going to be filmed by a man who's spoken out against Donald Trump before, who has a string of arrests and a string of charges and convictions, quelle surprise. And he was spotted by one of the Secret Service who would go ahead of where Donald Trump is playing golf, and then spotted this guy and shots were fired. What is extraordinary to me, though, is that this man was able to get so close to where Donald Trump was about to be. As soon as he finished one hole, he was going to get on his little golf cart. I don't think he does the walking part of golf. and then ride to this point. How on earth was someone there? Is this a great victory for the Secret Service, or is this yet another example of a big mistake?
Well, it looks like a huge failing. The excuses given last night seem to vary from, well, it's a golf course, it's very open, and there are a lot of bushes, so it's very difficult. And you sort of think, well, if you're the Secret Service, that's your job. Your job is to go and assess a threat. So why aren't you doing that? And if there is an open space, then surely that would tip you off that perhaps you ought to pay a little bit more attention as to what's going on in the surrounding area. So I think that there are some real questions that need to be answered as to why the security hasn't been beefed up around Donald Trump, considering this is now the second attempt.
Well, indeed. I mean, let's play a little clip, actually. And I found this absolutely extraordinary. Now, we knew ahead of the after the very close assassination attempt on Donald Trump early in the summer in July, when he was, he was shot. I mean, he was shot. Yeah. There's a lot of conspiracy theories around this about how, or was he? No, the man was shot in the ear. It's a simple matter of luck that Donald Trump was not actually killed at that point. And this was, this, of course, prompted a big discussion about the abject failures of the Secret Service in the security around him when he was speaking. And it was an absolute shocker. I mean, this man was on a roof, clear white roof, clear view of the stage with, with a gun. He'd been spotted by other people. He'd even been approached by security beforehand, and they knew there was some sort of concern, and yet Donald Trump was allowed to go on stage again without a perspex screen or anything to protect him. It was, just extraordinary as a result of that. Now, you would expect after that security would be stepped up.
Yeah.
You would expect that. Here, though, is what Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw had to say at a press conference for reporters last night in Palm Beach, Florida. This is what he said.
Well, you got to understand the golf course is surrounded by shrubbery, so when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right? And at this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible.
I have to say, Claire, I find that extraordinary. He's not the sitting president. No, he was a president. He's running for the presidency, and we know there are people who have tried to kill him already. I mean, it seems to me to be blatantly obvious that security should be stepped up and should be more than simply, well, we're just going to go ahead and check the next hole that he's playing.
Well, you would have thought after the last attempt, which they got so badly wrong, that security would be stepped up, as you said, because this is a high-profile individual. He may not be the sitting president, but he is a former president, and he is well-known, and he is outspoken, and he's a candidate. Yeah. So you would think that you would put more security in place and learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, I have to say, I just think it's really, really questionable that. And there was this guy, actually, this Rick Bradshaw was, congratulating them on a great job. I mean, it's amazing, the guy was spotted, shots were fired, we believe only by the security service, and then Secret Service, and then the guy escaped his car, his truck, someone took a photo of it, they were able to track him down. So, yeah, good work there. But, A matter of luck. Again, it shouldn't be a matter of luck. What do you make of the talk about the rhetoric around this? And, well, you know, of course, you've had the, you know, Joe Biden and you've had Kamala Harris saying violence has no place in American democracy. I mean, this is just... Violence has played a huge role in American democracy from start to finish.
Yes.
It's a nonsense thing to say, I'm afraid. So you know, that is just rubbish. It shouldn't play a role, but it does. There's a lot of talk from Republicans and Trump supporters that it's, you know, Democrat rhetoric about how Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, a threat to America, and that has sort of egged this on. Or do you think, frankly, a plague on both sides? Because Donald Trump does exactly the same to save America. I mean, they're both sides are as bad as each other, aren't they? Yeah,
they absolutely are. And when you look at either Make America Great Again or, in this country, Take Back Control, those kind of words then resonate round, and both sides are equally as guilty with it.
No, but those two slogans for Britain, they're just about, I mean, well, you know, to take back control, that's a perfectly fair take back control of the government.
It gets twisted, and that's
but that doesn't in any way imply that any referendum or an election is existential. I mean, you know, 24 hours to save the NHS, we've heard that a million times, and you know, but the rhetoric in British elections isn't anything close to what there is in American elections. Plus, you also, you know, routinely see the two men or women who are on either side likely to be Prime Minister. You know, they stand next to each other, debate. They chat at the beginning and the end of the debate. There is a civilised debate.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. It is much more adversary in the States. Yeah. It's adversarial. They come at each other. It's very, very personal. And I think that's your problem, is that now on either side, both sets of supporters will get riled up.
Yeah, but it's also not just personal. It's existential.
Yes.
And existential makes it that the stakes are higher. Also, they've got a lot more nutters with guns.
Well,
let's not underestimate the nutter with gun factor here. But I find it extraordinary. What I also find extraordinary is the nice people, the anti-Trump people who think they're so nice, are the ones who are sort of, even when, you know, newspaper, New York Times, Washington Post, whatever, they put out their tweets saying, you know, this assassination attempt has been foiled. The shrugs, virtually all the responses are from anti-Trump people going, yeah, well, better luck next time, and things like that. If the people on the right, if Trump supporters were saying the same thing about such an attempt on Biden or Kamala Harris, there would be an outcry. But because these are the nice people, it's OK. And I'm sorry, I think it doesn't wash on either side, but there we are. Let's talk about someone we definitely know isn't nice, but thought he was, Huw Edwards. As I said, he's arrived in court this morning. He's going to be sentenced. Now, Westminster Magistrates Court, he previously appeared there, of course, and he admitted having 41 indecent images of children sent to him by a paedophile on WhatsApp. They included 7 Category A images. You don't even want to know what that involves, but it's bad. Don't look it up. I'm just saying, don't look it up. Things you don't want to know. 2 involved a child aged around 7 to 9. Technically, he could face up to 10 years in jail. Technically. Yeah. Realistically, the paedophile who sent in these images and had sent equally vile images to a number of other people, he was the reason why Huw Edwards was caught in this way. He was given a suspended sentence. So I think it'd be rather unlikely that the person who received those images, and we understand Huw Edwards doesn't have any other images on his phone or his home computer or anywhere remotely related to these sort of paedophile images, that he would get anything other than a suspended prison sentence. Do you think that will be enough?
I can only look at it from a parental point of view, and if it was my child that had been on the receiving end, then no, that wouldn't be enough. A suspended sentence feels very, very lax. We've been jailing people for writing some hurty words on the internet. This whole other category, if he gets off with a suspended sentence, I wouldn't feel justice has been done at all. Except
my argument would be that the paedophile who sent him those images should also not have had a suspended sentence. There is this idea that unless someone actually makes the image... Now, it's very interesting because the crime he's actually being convicted of, or pleaded guilty to, is making those images. He didn't film those images himself. We need to be clear about what we're talking about. But he did... The making them means literally you downloaded those images. Those images then exist on your phone. You have made those images. That's what that means. But when someone looking at those images and presumably getting pleasure from those images, sexual excitement from those images, as opposed to going, oh my God, how on earth could someone have done this, and who would send this to me, and immediately reporting them to police, which is what all the rest of us would do, because we're not someone who gets pleasure from watching children being sexually abused. I just think that the main issue is that this isn't a victimless crime. It's the making of the image, the original. There is a child who is abused. Children now on the internet are abused to order by paedophiles. Often they're not just their carers, but their parents, their step-parents. They are literally abused to order for people to watch live, for people to see images, to share images, to get images back of other people abusing their children. This is the most disgusting, heinous, awful crime you can possibly imagine. And every image that is made is another crime against those children.
Yeah, it is.
It needs to be taken more seriously. It's not just looking at pictures. It's not porn.
It isn't. No. And that's the thing. I think we need to differentiate. This is children being abused. And if you have a part in the process, I don't care what the technicalities are, then you are equally as culpable as the person that started it.
Yeah, absolutely. We shall wait and see. I mean, of course, there's still the ongoing issue that the salary that he was paid, not once he'd resigned, he stepped back before he was even formally identified. It was his wife who identified him, wasn't it? After basically it was emerged that he had sent these huge number of messages and required explicit photographs and messages from a then 17-year-old boy. This was exposed by the Sun newspaper. The boy is now a man, age 21. The mother has written sort of an open letter, basically talking about just how utterly devastating it was for the family, and how it was Huw Edwards, paying this young man money in return for these pictures that sent him down this road of drink and drugs and exploitation. But so much more is emerged about Huw Edwards, isn't it? About his behaviour in the office, inappropriately sort of, just basically trying to use his power to get access to exploit younger people and people who wrote into his show, abusing the trust that people were showing him. But, then he was suspended and everyone had to feel sorry for him because he played the mental health card. That's what he did. He played the mental health card. And then, now his wife split up from him. He's lost his job. But in November last year, the BBC knew that he was facing charges as serious as in abusive pictures of 7-year-old children. And they carried on paying him. They've got to get that money back, haven't they?
Well, I think they should, absolutely. And if he had any morals left, I think he should return it himself without being prompted.
Yeah, I don't think people who look at pictures of 7-year-olds being abused have this understanding of what called morals. I mean, again, it's just so... It's so soul-destroying, this, isn't it? Because there are people... I didn't have any particular, love or admiration or respect for Huw Edwards on the fact he was a consummate professional on air, and it was pleasant, it was pleasurable to watch him doing commentary on major events like the, watching... you knew that watching the Queen's funeral or the King's coronation, that he would know his stuff, the tone would be right, and he was good at what he did on air. But I just find it extraordinary that people like that can live almost... in plain sight.
But also being allowed to get away with some pretty bad behaviour that his employer apparently did know about. So, what are they going to do about it?
It's almost like there's a pattern emerging at the BBC, but there we are. Too big to be allowed to fail. I also want to talk about a story and I'd love your thoughts on this. Look, you can get in touch, obviously, at any time about any of the big stories we're talking about, whether it's Trump. I'm sure you're as shocked as I was about the level of security for Donald Trump. I think totally inadequate. Whether you want to talk about Huw Edwards, we're waiting for his sentencing. We can't obviously prejudice a judge giving a ruling, so you can give your thoughts on that, and we'll give you the result of that sentencing as soon as we get it. I also want to know your thoughts about Keir Starmer's wife's clothes. Now, you'll probably tell from if you watch ever on the social media or ever see me on the telly, I don't get a clothing allowance. I'm a high street girl. I've got my stuff. I'm sorry, but Give me Zara, Mango, H&M. I'm perfectly happy with all of that stuff. But I'm still expected not to wear the same thing. Mike can turn up in a navy suit, change his tie every day. He's covered, right? No one's even going to notice. But if you're a woman, you have to, you basically have to wear something different every day. I've been in a black sweater and jeans every day. Oh, when summer, I'll wear a T-shirt. I mean, I go that far. But Keir Starmer faces an investigation now for failing to disclose that a Labour donor, this is Lord Alli, a Labour peer, paid for £5,000 worth of clothes for his wife Victoria, 20 grand for him during the election. I don't know how expensive his suits are, but wow. He's basically saying, we didn't realise, we took advice, we weren't sure whether we needed to declare it or not. But Why does she need £5 worth of clothes? Because David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, who, by the way, should get an allowance to pay for wearing some smart brogues instead of trainers on the way to meet up with our closest allies in America on an official trip. Seriously, grow up, man. But he said it's because that there isn't an allowance for the Prime Minister's wife's clothes. But they're on, what, a combined salary of 200 grand plus, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm glad there's no allowance for the Prime Minister or his wife or her partner, whoever they may be, because the taxpayer shouldn't be funding it. They are both able to purchase their own clothes. We shouldn't even be talking about a man buying clothes for a woman. She works. She has a salary. She can afford to go and buy her own clothes. So the fact that they didn't know, well, he's been an MP for some time. He understands what you need to register, and so does everybody around him.
But it's just so tacky, and also at a time when, as in today, the winter fuel allowance, that is the day. It kicks in, that ban on basically, everybody getting it, unless they're claiming extra tax credit, and you've only got another week to claim that tax credit to be enable you to get through. If you've got time to fill out the 143 question or 243 questions. But meanwhile, your wife's spending $5 on clothes. I mean, I know she has to do some official events things, but she's a senior figure in the NHS. I'm pretty sure she was a lawyer. She must have some nice dresses.
Does she not have a mate as well that perhaps swap dresses? Me and my friend do that. We swap dresses. I buy things through eBay.
Because I'm not saying she has to scrap it. I don't need her rooting around in the local, Marie Curie second-hand shop. But I mean, the woman can afford to buy clothes. She's not. I'm quite happy never to see the Prime Minister. I don't bring my husband to work. He doesn't sit in the corner because it's bring your husband to work day. He's busy doing his own job, right? He's running his own life. I don't go and hang out at his office, so why would he hang out at mine? I don't understand. Presumably Keir Starmer doesn't go and hang out at the hospital where his wife works. Why does she have to be involved? I don't mind peering on stage at the end of the party conference, although again, I'm not entirely sure that's necessary. No. You're not First Lady, you're not the head of state, you are simply the wife of the bloke who's the leader of the biggest party in the House of Commons.
Yeah. But he's equally, the Prime Minister doesn't need somebody to go and purchase glasses. For 6 pairs of glasses. How many? Why? I've got one spare pair with a break in them. Yes, so have I. Just for emergency. Yeah, in case these ones break. But why? Why would you accept money for things like that? Just buy them yourself like everybody else has to.
You're tacky.
Because
you're tacky. But if anyone would like to donate £5 for my clothing allowance, I'd be very happy to take it, and I will declare it on air. I want to go to a quick break, but really quickly also just want to Keir Starmer, he's in Italy today meeting Giorgia Meloni. Just fascinating, talking about the migrant crisis. He's finally appointed his new border commander to deal with this. I mean, we'll see how that works out. But it's fascinating trying to take hints from Giorgia Meloni about how to tackle the Channel migrant crisis when everyone on the left was criticising Italy, in particular Meloni, for being far right just a couple of years ago. Now, all happy to take tips.
Yes, and you didn't like the Rwanda plan, but you might like the Albania plan because it's different, because Keir Starmer says it's different.
But, Albania is different from Rwanda.
Only slightly. If they had a moral objection to processing people offshore, then this is still going to be the same, slightly different
I think if you process these people in Bermuda or the Cayman Islands, the left would have a problem, wouldn't you? Because fundamentally, they don't believe in borders. Yeah. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Get in touch. Particularly want to hear from you about Keir Starmer and the £5 worth of clothes donated to his wife, Victoria, whose nickname, by the way, in Labour circles is Queen Vic, because apparently some rather hoity-toity views. But there we are.